I enter the underwater cave expecting silence and structure, the kind of place where rock stays where it has been for centuries. My fins move slowly through clear water as my headlamp traces pale limestone walls and dark coral veins embedded in stone. Every breath through my regulator sounds measured, controlled, normal. The cave tightens without warning. The passage narrows into a low chamber where the ceiling feels closer than it should. My exhaled bubbles hit rock almost immediately and scatter sideways instead of rising freely. I register it, but I continue forward, trusting the map in my head. Then the cave moves. A deep vibration passes through the water, not loud, but heavy. The limestone above fractures with a dull crack that I feel through my chest before I see it. Massive rocks and coral fragments break loose and fall, smashing into the passage behind me. The exit disappears in a violent cloud of sediment. Visibility drops to nothing. The water turns thick and brown, packed with silt and debris. My headlamp cuts only a few inches before being swallowed by darkness. I turn, but there is no direction anymore, only pressure and suspended particles grinding against my mask. My oxygen gauge flashes into view as I steady my breathing. The needle sits deep in the red zone. Minutes, not guesses, minutes. Air bubbles escape faster now, betraying the effort it takes to stay calm. My equipment scrapes against sharp rock as I shift, and something tugs hard at my hose, catching on jagged stone. Another rock settles nearby, heavy enough to crush part of my gear. The ceiling continues to crack, small stones raining down like a warning that the cave is not finished collapsing. Water pressure shifts as boulders settle, squeezing the chamber tighter. I stop moving. In the zero visibility, panic waits just outside my control. I focus on staying still, conserving air, listening to the cave instead of fighting it. That is when something moves through the sediment that does not feel like falling rock. Through the murk, pale arms glide silently, deliberate, unaffected by the chaos. An octopus emerges from the darkness, its body changing texture against the stone, as if the cave itself is guiding it. It pauses near me, close enough that I can see its eye lock onto mine. It does not flee, it stays. And in this collapsing underwater cave, with my air running out and no exit in sight, that changes everything. The cave does not stabilize, it compresses. Every second underwater feels heavier, as if the stone itself is leaning inward. The sediment does not settle, it stays suspended, erasing distance, direction, and scale. I cannot tell where the floor ends or where the ceiling begins anymore. My breathing grows louder inside the mask. Each inhale pulls harder from the tank, and each exhale releases a frantic stream of bubbles that slam into rock and vanish. The oxygen gauge remains burned into my vision, the needle locked deep in the red, unmoving except for small tremors that remind me how little time remains. The entangled hose tightens as the water shifts. A slight movement sends a sharp tug through my equipment, warning me that any force could tear something loose or snap it entirely. Around me, heavy boulders continue to settle, grinding against each other with slow, crushing pressure that bends metal and cracks stone. The headlamp weakens further, its beam dissolving almost instantly into the murk. Darkness presses from all sides, not empty, but crowded with particles and motion. The cave feels smaller now, reshaped by collapse into a tighter, more hostile chamber. Water pressure changes again as another section of ceiling fractures. I feel it through my chest and ears before debris even falls. Limestone rocks and coral fragments drift down, bumping against my tank and shoulders, each impact stealing precious stability. The octopus reacts before I can. It moves with certainty through the chaos, arms anchoring to rock, body adjusting instantly to every shift in current. It navigates the collapsing space without hesitation, unaffected by the disorientation that traps me. It reaches the tangled equipment and begins testing it with careful precision, wrapping one arm around the snagged hose, another bracing against stone. Its movements are slow but decisive, never wasting motion, never fighting the water. Another crack splits the ceiling. More rocks threaten to fall, and the sediment thickens until the cave feels sealed shut. My air supply drops further. Panic pushes harder now, no longer distant, but pressing directly against my control. The octopus stays close, unshaken by the pressure, the darkness, or the collapse. As the cave tightens and my oxygen fades, it becomes clear that survival here will not come from strength or speed. It will come from timing, and there is very little of it left. I stop reacting to the cave and start working with what still moves inside it. Fighting the water, the sediment, or the collapse wastes oxygen I cannot afford to lose. I hold my position, forcing my breathing into slow, deliberate cycles. Despite the screaming signal of the gauge in red, the octopus becomes the only stable reference in the darkness. While everything else shifts, falls, and tightens, it moves with intention. Its arms maintain contact with the rock, reading the cave in ways my body cannot. It understands which surfaces still hold and which are moments away from failure. The tangled hose remains my most immediate threat. If it tears, I lose air instantly. If I pull, I trigger movement movement in the surrounding rock. I stay still and let the octopus work. One arm braces against limestone, another wraps the hose gently, applying pressure in measured increments rather than force. Sediment continues to swirl, but the octopus creates small pockets of clarity with its movement, pushing clouds aside just enough to reveal edges, angles, and space. It is not clearing the cave, it is mapping it. A sharp shift runs through the ceiling. Instead of reacting blindly, the octopus adjusts first, anchoring itself and absorbing the change. I mirror that stillness, allowing the pressure wave to pass without transmitting movement through my equipment. The hose loosens slightly, not free, but no longer tightening. That alone changes the balance of survival. My oxygen continues to drop, but no longer at a catastrophic rate. Control replaces panic, even as time continues to drain. The octopus changes strategy. It releases one anchor point and extends an arm deeper into the sediment, probing a narrow gap between fallen boulders. The space is tight, sharp, and nearly invisible, but it exists. It returns and presses against my arm, then the rock, then the gap again. There is no instruction, no signal beyond movement and repetition, but the meaning is clear. There is a path. It is not safe, it is not open, but it is possible. And in this cave, with air running out and the ceiling still cracking, possible is everything. The passage tightens as soon as I commit to it. Rock presses against my shoulders and tank, scraping metal against limestone with every controlled inch forward. The space is barely wide enough to exist in, let alone move through, and retreat is no longer an option. Behind me, the cave answers my movement with another violent shift. A deep crack splits the ceiling, and heavy boulders settle again, sealing the chamber I came from even tighter. The sediment surges forward, swallowing what little clarity remains. Darkness becomes complete. My headlamp flickers once, then dims to a weak glow. The oxygen gauge trembles violently in my peripheral vision, the needle buried in the red, dropping with terrifying speed. Each breath feels louder, heavier, closer to the last. The narrow passage begins to collapse. Small rocks slide first, then larger fragments, grinding together as water pressure forces them inward. The corridor deforms around me, sharp edges threatening hoses, valves, and the fragile balance keeping me alive. One wrong contact could end everything instantly. The octopus reacts faster than thought. It surges forward, anchoring arms into opposing rock faces, spreading its body wide to absorb the pressure. Falling debris strikes its limbs and deflects away from my equipment, redirected by placement rather than force. A massive stone shifts above, dropping just enough to trap my tank for a split second. Panic spikes as the passage clamps down. I stop breathing for a moment without realizing it. Frozen between motion and collapse, the octopus presses harder, arms locking into cracks, body flattening against the ceiling and wall simultaneously. The rock shifts again, sliding instead of crushing. The pressure eases by inches, but inches are everything. I move, not fast, not slow, exactly enough. The octopus releases one anchor point at a time, guiding me forward through the most unstable section as the cave continues to fail behind us. The passage collapses fully the moment my fins clear it, sealing off the deadly chamber forever. The cave goes still. My air is almost gone, but the space ahead opens slightly, and water begins to move differently, less stagnant, less trapped. In the darkness, with seconds of oxygen left, I realize the mountain has made its final decision, and this time it lets us pass. The cave opens just enough to change everything. The walls pull apart by mere feet, but the pressure vanishes instantly. The water here moves with purpose, carrying sediment away instead of trapping it. I feel it against my suit before I see it. My headlamp finally dies. Darkness should follow, but it doesn't. A faint blue gradient filters through the water ahead, subtle and unmistakable. Natural light, not close, but reachable. The oxygen gauge hovers at the edge of empty. Each breath is measured, slow, deliberate, borrowed. I stop fighting the fear and let the current guide me, trusting the direction my body and the octopus both sense. The octopus releases its last anchors and swims forward, no longer bracing, no longer holding. Its movement is fluid now, confident, unburdened by collapsing stone. It is no longer rescuing, it is leading. The passage widens gradually, sharp limestone giving way to smoother rock. The sediment thins until visibility returns in fragments. My hands, my tank, the octopus moving just ahead, illuminated by ambient light filtering from above. I follow the slope upward. The pressure eases with every meter. My lungs burn, but the cave no longer resists. It guides. Then the ceiling breaks open. Open water expands above me, pale blue and endless compared to the darkness I leave behind. I kick upward, releasing the final breath inside my mask as the surface grows clearer. I break through. Air floods my lungs in a violent, life-saving gasp. Water streams off my mask as sunlight blinds me. I float, alive, intact, pulled free from the weight of stone and silence. Below the surface, the octopus hovers for a moment in the light, its skin fin shimmering softly. Then it turns and disappears back into the depths of the cave, returning to the world it understands. I remain on the surface, breathing, watching the water settle. The cave takes nothing more, and I leave with everything.